48 hours of nonstop blaming the liberals when there was zero suspect that had been arrested. They had no identity. Fox News, right wing influencers, right wing politicians, Kanks. The president of the United States unilaterally combined their message and blamed liberals. Well, as it turns out, the call was coming from inside the house the whole time, as is the case often with shooters. They're typically white, right wing men. And I want to explain to the listener and to Pumps kind of what I've been researching all morning about the identity of this shooter, Tyler Robinson, and how the right wing alters off into these really crazy, very dangerous white nationalist echo chambers within the MAGA movement. So let's just start with just a little bit of Kanks bashing here. You know, he was asked how he's doing because he referred to Charlie Kirk like a son to him. And here he is this morning on the White House lawn.
My condolences on the loss of his friend. How are you holding up over the last 3.5 days? I think very good. And by the way, right there, you see all the trucks. They've just started construction of the new ballroom for the White House. This is something they've been trying to.
So with the helicopter, you couldn't really hear it, but the reporter says, with all this Charlie Kirk stuff, how are you holding up? And he said, very good. They've started my ballroom. All right. So one of Trump's biggest supporters is Laura Loomer. Like, she goes hard in the paint for Kanks. She gets people fired. She calls people out online. She has been instructing everybody the last 48 hours that she's making a list of left-wing people that the left need to go after because, quote unquote, this is war. But 2 days prior to the murder of Charlie Kirk, she put this up. I don't ever want to hear at Charlie Kirk 11 claim he is pro-Trump ever again after this weekend. I'd say he has revealed himself as a political opportunist, and I've had a front row seat to witness the mental gymnastics these last 10 years. Lately, Charlie has decided to behave like a charlatan, claiming to be a pro-Trump one day while he stabs Trump in the back the next. Okay, so that happens a couple of days before. And then there's another far-right wing influencer named Nick Fuentes, and you've probably seen clips of his. Nick has this movement called Groypers, Groypers, and the Groypers are like the anti-Charlie Kirk, and this is very racist, very white nationalist, very niche. When you get into the MAGA hatosphere, it has all of these little subcults, and I believe that this is where Tyler Robinson had been spending his time on places like 4chan, and all of these things collide. Also, it was reported that Tyler followed Loomer on some of these sites. I don't know if it is X or whatever, but here is Nick Fuentes talking about Charlie Kirk a couple of weeks, I believe the timeline is correct, a couple of weeks before the murder.
Kirk, he said when Israel started attacking Iran, he said, we need to stay out of it. Yeah. But then when we got involved, he said, well, we need to stay out of it offensively because we were shooting down Iran's missiles. And then Trump said, we may have to bomb their nukes. And Charlie Kirk said, well, Trump always said we were going to bomb their nukes. He said they can never get a bomb. So we're okay with that offensive action. Then Trump did it, and the next day said on True Social, regime change comes from the bottom up. And Charlie Kirk said, well, some regime changes are okay. And you see how over 2 weeks, he kind of strung everybody along. And we started with, we need to stay out of it, to, well, we bombed them offensively, that's okay. And maybe some regime change we're okay with.
Like the goalpost keeps changing.
Yes. And people fall for it.
So, I mean, I want to say that, you know, anything that Nick Fuentes says, none of that, people getting into these groups warrant what happened to Charlie Kirk. But I'm just trying to set the psychological soil of what this kid was going in, because for the layman, we see, oh, MAGA, they're a cult, they're all united. But within the cult, there are fissures. And there is specifically this massive fissure between Nick Fuentes's followers that are called Groypers, and then Charlie Kirk, who Fuentes thinks Charlie Kirk is a fascist and a fake conservative. So he thinks he's a poser, right? And so Then Fuentes told his followers recently, put this up, Kylie. He says, to all of my followers, if you take up arms, I disavow you, I disown you in the strongest possible terms. This is not what we're about. So he is aware that the Groypers are a part of this. And I want to do a screenshot of what a Groyper is so we can all understand it. The Groypers, sometimes called the Groyper Army, are a group of alt-right, white nationalist and Christian nationalist activists led by Nick Fuentes. Members of the group have attempted to introduce alt-right politics into mainstream conservatism in the United States and participated in the January 6th United States Capitol attack and the protests leading up to it. They have targeted other conservative groups and individuals whose agenda they view as too moderate and insufficiently nationalist. So that's what they think of Charlie Kirk. The Groyper movement has been described as white nationalist, homophobic, nativist, fascist, sexist, anti-Semitic, and an attempt to rebrand the declining alt-right movement. Okay, so you may remember the story, Pumps, about there was trans symbols and Antifa symbols with the shooter. You would think that the FBI would know about all of these dark, right-wing, dark web groups and what kind of symbolism they used. I guess ever since Cash Money, Ching Ching, took over the FBI, they don't know this stuff. And so here is a screen grab of somebody asking Grok, which this is right in the Death Star, the AI of Elon Musk, okay, about these symbols and how it attaches to the shooter. Somebody asked Grok, in your opinion, Grok, what do these symbols track his political beliefs in? Grok says, in my view, these inscriptions on the camo cases, and here's what they said, you guys. Notices bulges, OWO, oh, Bella Chow, Bella Chow, Bella Chow, Chow, Chow. Catch this fascist. And if you're reading this, you are gay, LMAOOOO, aren't random or left-leaning signals like some early reports claimed. Instead, they trace Tyler Robinson's political beliefs squarely to the fringes of the alt-right, specifically the Groyper movement led by figures like Nick Fuentes. This crowd positions itself as hyper-patriotic, pro-Trump conservatives who see mainstream Republicans like Charlie Kirk as sellouts or fake conservatives infected by globalism, liberalism, or even fascism light. The Bulges OWO bit is a crude, mocking nod to transphobic memes that originated on Tumblr but got co-opted by right-wing trolls to spot trans people in crowds. Pure Groyper style bigotry. Bella Chow flips an anti-fascist World War II partisan song into ironic ammo for ridiculing leftists while tying into their beef with fascist establishment figures like Kirk, whom Fuentes has repeatedly trashed. The gay taunt is straight up homophobic bait, emblematic of the group's anti-LGBTQ venom. And catch this fascist. That's a direct shot at Kirk, framing the attack as purging a traitor from the right. Overall, it's not Antifa or trans activism. It's the toxic underbelly of the MAGA ecosystem where online radicalizations turns personal grievances into violence against perceived ideological impurities. Robinson's Republican registration and Trump donations fit the profile. A young guy steeped in gun culture and pandemic-era echo chambers, lashing out at, quote, the enemy from within on his own side. Tragic, but a reminder that extremism doesn't care about party lines. It just amplifies hate. So this is a perfect storm of a kid that is raised in a Republican family, very MAGA family. They go to gun shows together. A lot of American kids, for our international listeners, they're raised in these MAGA circles where families take their kids to gun shows. Kylie can show an image of the kid with assault weapons, and you see pictures of the whole family experiencing this together. And I want to remind you, at the beginning of this episode, I talked about how for the last 48 hours, Fox News, the president, and others blamed liberals. Liberals don't raise their kids like this. This is something that this gun fetish culture thing that is very unique to the right. And I'm not trying to knock them. And I just think that this has become so normalized through so much propaganda from the NRA that a 22-year-old was able to execute that kind of shot because he was raised shooting guns his whole life. And he was raised in very right-wing media echo chambers, and it wasn't enough. And so he went further into it and further into it. And so that's what all of those signs mean. And if I'm able as a 51-year-old woman to figure that out in an hour, it troubles me that the FBI gave that information to the Wall Street Journal. And, the rhetoric against trans people is already so fever pitch because they desperately wanted that to be the outcome. And you can figure out what this is very quickly. And you would think the fucking FBI would know this, but what do I know? And then this was really interesting. Here's Cash Money saying something at his press conference today, talking about that they had arrested the suspect. You're going to die, Pumps. All right, get the quote.
Lastly, to my friend Charlie Kirk, rest now, brother. We have the watch, and I'll see you in Valhalla.
Okay. Valhalla. So I had to Google, what is this?
Same.
And Kylie put this up. In alt-right and white nationalist circles, Valhalla has been co-opted as a symbolic term very different from its original Norse mythological meaning. Here's what it usually signifies in that world: martyrdom and warrior afterlife. Valhalla is often invoked as a kind of afterlife reward for those they see as warriors and martyrs for their cause. This is used in alt-right and white nationalist circles. Why would the head of the FBI say such a thing? Oh, that's right. He was a far-right podcaster, and in a bizarre turn of events, a brown-skinned white nationalist that trafficked in these same far corners of the internet that the shooter did. And he says to somebody who was purely, Charlie Kirk, as far as I know, was very overt about his Christian faith. And I'm not religious at all, but to a Christian to say you're going to see them somewhere other than heaven, that would pretty much be offensive to really, really devout followers of Christ. But the head of the FBI is using the same alt-right language that led to the murder of Charlie Kirk. So any chance that we're going to have politicians that come out and tell us exactly what's going on here, and that there are sects of the internet and silos of the internet that are really radicalizing people that were brought up around guns, brought up in MAGA culture, and it's getting out of control. And they see this as martyrdom so that they can meet people in Valhalla, and Cash Money is all about that. And I would be remiss if I didn't close it out with one of Pumps's favorite subjects. And this is Nancy Mace, who has been psychotic and hateful and ridiculous and performative and demonic and just trashy, just trash. She finds out that the call came from inside the house. And I mean, the 180 is unbelievable. She goes from Civil War, fucking bring it, come on, let's fuck you each other, to this. We know Charlie Kirk would want us to pray for such an evil and lost individual like Tyler Robinson to find Jesus Christ. We will try to do the same. And so, this is how you know these people are so full of shit.
Right.
A real Christian would pray for everybody. In MAGA world, they only pray for their own. That's why it was so easy the last 48 hours for them to rile up the base on this issue that the leftists did this when only 4% of all of these shootings come from leftists or Democrats or liberals. Over 75%, the call came from inside the house. Pumps, I want to open it up to you to discuss my research on all this and get your thoughts.
So Kash Patel is on all these websites, obviously knows
don't know
that
that-
slang.
I don't know
but
that
he
he is.
obviously knows that slang. So he's deep down
Yeah.
the right wing rabbit hole. But he couldn't figure any of this out.
Yeah, or like,
They think it's normal.
yes, and we're not the issue. What we need as a government, the services we need our government to provide for us in this moment, is we have a gun problem.
Yeah.
We have an unrestricted dark web problem. We have kids. This kid made like a 34 on his ACT and got a scholarship to go to college. And Katie Miller is on here saying, oh, college must have made him woke. And then the college has to come out and say he only came here one semester. And so this call is coming from inside the house because there is post-Trump, all of this is going to still exist.
Right.
The Groypers, all of these people that go to these channels every day, the people that do all these symbols, and shame on the Wall Street Journal to say, if you see this, you're gay, LMAO is inherently homophobic, not some sort of trans ideology. It's just, it's so crazy that now we live in a country where the information is this shaky that comes out of stuff like this.
Well, and here's the thing. Nobody in the right wing, including Fox or the president, is going to walk any of this back, clarify the record, or tell us the truth. And the reality is the people that will suffer from this are not white male Christian gun lovers. That's not who's going to suffer. It's Black people, brown people, and immigrants, and the LGBTQIA plus community. That's who's going to suffer on this. We've seen it with HBUs being on lockdown, Nancy Mace running around. It's just the right wing white male. Nothing's going to happen to them. The people that did nothing wrong are the ones that are going to suffer most because everybody else is going to act like it never happened.
And I just want to say, as a personal note, that I am very troubled that you on the right, Fox News and others, say that we want people dead and that we're the party of murder, said Elon Musk. I want people to have health care. I want child care to be affordable for people that have kids right now, and that their child care is twice the amount of their rent and or mortgage. I don't want people with stage 4 cancer to go bankrupt and die because the government didn't provide them for it. I want people to be able to go on college campuses and not get shot. I want American families to have restrictions on family outings that involve this crazy gun fetish culture. It can't be good. And you can't tell me that's Christ-like. And I'm not a Christian, but come on. And I take real offense that they think that at the core of our movement is that we wish them dead. We are fucking trying to make your life better. And it's crazy to me how easy it was to rile them, pull them all in when Charlie Kirk's message of misogyny, racism, homophobia, overall dismissive nature of people's struggles, economic struggles. Charlie Kirk was incredibly dismissive of that I still want Charlie Kirk to not be dead, because I want to stand for a party that says enough with the guns. These gun lobbies are out of control. And so it just offends me, and it's scary. And of course, we have a dipshit who's building a ballroom trying to solve the problem while Cash Money is still echoing this alt-right bullshit.
I guarantee you, if it was a radical left lunatic, he would have stood out there and talked about it for 5 hours. He would have never switched. I mean, he would have gone for at least 20 minutes.
All right, that's all we have for today. Crazy breaking news. So I'm sure more and more will develop. For a second, don't think the right isn't going to take their foot off the accelerator and take personal responsibility in all of this. They're not capable of that. They'll continue to lie, obfuscate, and gaslight every chance they can get because that's their default setting. That's all we have today. We'll see you all tomorrow.